Hey guys, this is Chris with Omnidek. I appreciate you taking a look at our quick demo on building expense reports and building an expense report workflow inside of your Omnidek business portal platform. So I'm going to run you through real quick a short overview demo, and then we're going to kind of get into how you can build your own expense report solution using the features of the Omnidek portal. This is our Omnidek website. I'm going to go ahead and get myself cleared off there. So this is your business portal. This is where all of your business processes can flow. Expense reports is one of them. It could be purchase requisitions and receiver tickets and daily reports and timesheets. So whatever the pieces of paper are today, or maybe the apps that you're currently paying for a software as a subscription, you can consolidate that activity inside of the Omnidek platform. Now, Omnidek's architecture is kind of like the assembly line. It's designed to be able to handle the undercurrent of somebody filling something out, a group of people reviewing it and approving it and collaborating on it, and then being able to monitor it and search it and see it in a particular fashion. The reason we built it like the assembly line was to create power users inside of your company. What that means is that if we implemented the expense report process inside of your company, the same features, if we wanted to implement the next process, like the ones that I mentioned earlier, it's the same feature set. It's the same place to fill something out, the same place to approve it, and the same place to report on it. So as your employees get good at the three main features of the Omnidek platform, any new process improvement you want to roll out in the future, you can do with very minimal training required. What that looks like to kind of build your expense report or kind of whatever the form is, it's a very simple and easy drag and drop designer, but I'm going to show you here in a second just how powerful it is with both the integrations to Sage as well as the calculations that we can do inside of our form designer is more like Excel than it is PDF. Now the workflow engine is hierarchy based and condition based, so we can handle the most robust work processes and rules that you need for a workflow to be handled inside. But the engine itself is group chat, so it's very digestible, very simple for people to kind of comment and collaborate on a particular work process. But I don't have to train anybody necessarily how to group chat and hit approve to actually affect a work process. So it's very easy. But one of the hidden gems of our application is that this conversation, as well as the audit log, is going to live with this form forever. So as a document management strategy, if you said, okay, we're going to put all of our forms inside of the Omnidek platform, then you have this. If you ever need to go back 6 months later and look up a particular form, you not only have the form, but the actual conversation and audit log next to it, which is tremendously valuable for an ECM strategy. And lastly, we can monitor the activity of the assembly line. So if I wanted to say, maybe I'm not in the every expense report workflow because I have too many of them and I'm the CFO, for example, but I do want to know when somebody fills out an expense report on a miscellaneous GL account, or maybe if it's over $1,000, I just want to see it if it happens, right? So I can condition data that are interest points or actionable items for me, and I can sit back and actually see it happen in real time. So this is the Omnidek platform. Now, to kind of show you what this looks like in full practice, this is our live system. This is every business form inside of our company. Everything from timesheets, that expense report, to purchase requisitions, everything's right here. If I was going to come in here and fill out an expense report, this is the way we do it. So I can do this on a phone or a tablet, whichever device. And we don't job cost because we're just a little software company. But we could, I should give you another example of how we can do that. But if you can appreciate, these questions here are all linked to our Sage data, the employee, the cost codes, right, expense types. It does the math. So if I bought something for $25.25 and attached a picture from my camera, or maybe it got emailed a receipt, I attached my Uber receipt there for some travel, I can do that here. It'll even do the math on my reimbursable amount. Say I traveled 254 miles, it does my reimbursable fuel costs and then adds everything up down here in my total, which I can then go ahead and sign and move it on. So this is as simple as it is to fill out an expense report. Now, to give you a little example, this was a new onboarding that we just did for one of our customers. We built a bunch of these little forms for all their different project type stuff. But one of the forms we built was an expense report. And this company is a little bit, they're a construction company, so it has more job costing information. But I'll kind of give you an example here. So from here, they'll come in here and they'll select their employee. They'll come in here and based on the company that they're working on here, they can do that. This expense total is going to kind of keep track of the receipts that I put in here. So let's say, for example, I do a job number, and then this will filter out the activity codes just for that job. and I can effectively put a cost code on this particular item, put on an expense account as well. So this will do my math. So let's say I bought something for 25 bucks. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to duplicate, have another transaction, and then I'm going to fill out the same criteria, and maybe I spend $100 on this one. You see how it's giving me my grand total down here, and I can pivot this if I want to see it kind of in a grid view. If I've got a bunch of receipts, I can do this. I can save this and come back to it later if I'm working my expense report, even my mileage as well. It can be handled in here as well. So a bunch of different options on how to kind of configure this. The form designer itself is super easy. Whenever you purchase Omnidek, you actually get a free hour-and-a-half session where we actually build 2 or 3 of these forms with you. Like, you bring your forms with you. When you leave, you have a pilot that's ready to go. So to kind of show you what that looks like here, I'll come here and pick up this expense report. All I'm doing here is just dragging and dropping questions and answers. Some of those questions, like jobs, for example, this is pulling out of all the data tables that I'm syncing to Sage 100 or 300 CRE. So it's my contracts or my job list or my cost code list, right? Well, you don't have to be a coder. I'm just clicking what I want to display and what I want to search by in here. And here's all the columns inside of that particular database. So it's very easy to build this. But if you can appreciate, we do the math in here. So you see how we give these little cell references here, like this is a reference EA. So whenever we're doing our totaling here, I can do robust calculations to kind of get these things added up or apply some kind of reimbursable amount or whichever the case. So this is kind of a duplicatable section here. I'll drill back in and show you kind of how our system works, because we actually do more flat calculations in here. So if I go to that expense reimbursement form, you see how this is my total EX. And then I'll come down here to get my mileage reimbursement. So this is total miles. And then this is multiplying it here in this expression by our reimbursable fuel amount, right? So this gives me my total here. And then when I add them all up, I'm just adding up the total mileage plus the total expenses to get my total reimbursable amount. And I'm doing that down here in my expression. So you can imagine building the expense report however you want is super, super easy. It takes all of about 5 minutes to do, whether you want to do it more transactional based, which is how we do it, or you want to do it kind of more like month-end expense reports where they kind of save the form and keep adding to it. You can set it up however you wish. The application itself, kind of like how we mentioned, all the approvals are going to happen here inside of this inbox. So like, for example, this is one, a marketing campaign, but for example, if I had a expense report flowing through here, I could see all the information on it. I could add to it. I could sign it. I have this chat conversation, so I can have a conversation with all the people involved in the conversation. All this is happening right here, ultimately to where I can just come in here and approve this particular work process and move it on. So to set this thing up, I mentioned that our workflow is both hierarchy-based and condition-based. So whenever we come in here and we set up a workflow, we actually, as a prerequisite, set up a hierarchy of the company. So these are all the users that are in the OCX division and all the members that are in the development division, right? These are the managers of those departments, and then upwards into accounting and administration. Well, whenever we set the workflows up, we can call that hierarchy to set up a work process. So for example, here, this is what that looks like. So anybody can start a particular expense report, but it's got to go to their direct supervisor. So it goes up a hierarchy node. No matter how many different divisions you have inside of your company, it's got to go to a direct supervisor. So we actually leverage that hierarchy, and these are all the direct supervisors. So it has to go to them first before accounting and administration looks at it. Then we integrate conditions. So if it's an expense report under $100, then we let the direct supervisor kind of have the authority to go ahead and approve it and have it go to accounting for reimbursement. If the condition, which is actually total, it's a question on the form, total requested amount greater than 100, as you see right here, then if it's true, that means it's over 100, then the CFO needs to look at it, then it can go to accounting. So this little process here, you can apply this for every work process inside of your company, both, as many conditions as you want, as many nodes as you want. You can build some really robust engine work processes inside of here, but it's just in a couple of minutes, you can build a very logical flow of the information. So I really just kind of sit back, I build my form, I build my workflow, it's playing off my hierarchy or conditions that are set forth there, and I've just built my assembly line, right? It's super, super easy to set up. And now if I want to come back and monitor some of this, maybe I have some interest points on that particular form, then I can set up what we call insights here. And this is where I see any new form traffic that actually met that criteria. So I see there's 115 timesheets in here, but there's one new one since I last checked it. If I go into my expense report, this is my list of all the expense reports. I happen to have it grouped by expense type, but I can take that filter off just by dragging and dropping and come in here and maybe group it by date. So I can see all the expenses kind of broken down day after day and maybe group it, filter it in a particular order. Here's my latest expenses, right? So coming in here and monitoring this, kind of dragging and dropping and moving this over to get my proper view on how I want to do it. It's super, super easy. Coming in here and actually filtering this. So I've got this group by expense type and I'm getting my totals here. Well, it's because over here on the total, I'm doing a summation here in decimal. But if I wanted to change this maybe to currency, for example, I can do that here. And then now I see it show up in dollar amounts as well. So these are all the questions on the form that I can kind of create my own view of this data, maybe set conditions on like submission dates. Say, for example, I applied this one and I could do equal to a date or maybe the next particular days or last 7 days or whichever else. So I can create these moving thresholds of activity as it's popping up so I can kind of monitor this and set my own criteria however I wish. So very, very powerful. And I can always just kick it out to Excel and this will actually keep the formatting here on the grouping inside of the spreadsheet as well if I want to do that. So building a expense report work process inside of our system is super, super easy. Now where it gets more powerful is inside of the app, the integration component. So appreciate I'm getting the valid employee, the valid job, the valid cost code, all that stuff is synchronized and integrated with Sage. So this gives me opportunities to submit that data back in as an AP transaction, either directly to Sage, or I can send it to the companion like AP systems that are out there. So I can send an image over to Timberscan or send it over to Sage Paperless. It shows up in those queues already fully indexed, but they can be processed just like the normal invoices without any indexing required. You can apply the same logic to a purchase requisition that gets sent in as a job cost commitment and stored, a receiver ticket that gets processed and stored, and then it's there for the three-way match. There's a whole bunch of really cool processes you can do because we have those integration components built up. And then lastly, one of the other cool things, this is kind of we do this as kind of a service here, but this note section here can actually be populated from Sage as well. So let's say, for example, in the expense report, if I submitted the expense report in, it got approved, it got sent over to Sage, and we cut that check for the reimbursement, I can actually pull a comment based upon that trigger and populate the note log. So I actually have a historical record of not only the process, but also the inevitable check and the dollar amount that got cut on a particular date. And all this is done through the API of our system. It's super powerful, and we can do just about any process inside of your company. So this is Omnidek. I'll leave you with one last little piece. The value add of implementing Omnidek inside of your company opens up an enormous amount of efficiency and opportunity for process improvements moving forward. We claim that we can do about a 50% reduction in your business's software as a service and app count. So we can help you consolidate by potentially eliminating Concur in this example, or eliminating your timesheet system, or maybe helping fill in the gaps of maybe the ancillary processes that are maybe still out there a little bit archaic and you don't have a good platform to solve that solution. Omnidek is perfect for that. You can imagine once implemented for the first process, any new process improvement doesn't take any training. So we claim about a 90% reduction in time and cost to implement a new business process moving forward. And appreciate you're not a coder, you're just dragging and dropping and configuring the system. So that's what we call it, a no-code solution, which means a departmental manager or an admin or an IT department, if you wanted to even go up that high, can actually build your own process improvements without any coding required to be able to pull that off. And we think over time, the more acclimated your team gets with the group chat process and the more forms that you implement inside of the platform, there's a 70% reduction overall email, especially on the internal emails, by using the Omnidek group chat. And you're also creating kind of the archived conversation as well moving forward. So this is Omnidek. You can simply visit our website, omnidek.com. Click start a free trial. You actually get a free 7-day trial. We give you a 1-hour training session where you bring your forms to us. We build the first form with you. We turn the controls over. You build the next form. We set up some workflows, and you now have a working pilot in an hour. So it's super easy to set up. It's designed to show you just how easy it is. and to hopefully get you to kind of be able to try it out, get your feet wet with the application, but also let it impress you with the flexibility and the power that we have for it. Now, on a price, excuse me, on a pricing standpoint, we have an express version. It's $99 a month. It's your first 5 users. So for smaller companies, it's a very easy way to kind of implement some of your processes moving forward. $25 a user per month is the retail price on that. So a 10-user system would be about 25 or 250 bucks a month to move forward. The larger companies, if you've got field employees that are really just submitting timesheets or just submitting expense reports, PTO requests, we actually stagger that price for the field users. They can't be on an approval node, but they can be a generator of a form. So in that case, that price tier goes from $10 a user under 50, $7 a user over 50, and then down to we have enterprise pricing. If we kind of get into the several hundred users, we can actually help work with you to help justify that cost for some of the kind of the one-way traffic of the field user. So this is Omnidek. I appreciate your time and sitting in, and we hope to talk soon with you. If you'd like to schedule a one-on-one demo, we can do that. Or if you just want to jump into a trial, we can set that up. And by clicking this, it'll let you schedule your time. We'll spin you up a site, and then you can go from there. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you sitting in and having some interest in Omnidek, and we'll hopefully talk soon. Thanks so much.